You can start to record. And
Okay.
I'm assuming, Karen, that if you just submit it, then I'll just tell Gilbert that
Yeah,
it's
that's
in
fine.
your submission, because I'm sure he's not going to watch it twice.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah. Yeah,
So I
I'll share I do a YouTube link usually. I'll share it with you
oh,
so you can post it if you want, but you don't have to.
okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
So I think the one that I'm going to do is with crew. They've added, well, athletes in action. They've added on, which one do I want to do?
Yeah, you just
They've
you
added
actually if
on,
you're ready, you can start and I'll just
sure, sure. Yeah, I'll just start.
okay. Okay. So I'm the leader or you're the leader. You're the leader?
No, I'm the lame follower.
Follower. Okay. And I'm your leader. Okay. So why don't you set us up with what the scenario is before we jump in?
Yeah, so the scenario is that they have added on this requirement to do once a month to do a 4-hour learning community experience. So what it is it's supposed to be an out of your culture, and you're supposed to, because they're very, athletes in action and crew are very making sure that we're very culture and not
Diverse.
inclusion, but yeah, diverse, that's the word.
Yeah.
So we are supposed to every month do an experience that we're coming in not as a teacher, like, oh, let me come in and teach English, but as a learner.
And are
And
they providing this opportunity or
oh
you
no,
have
you
to
gotta
find it?
find it. You gotta find it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And does that have
that's
to be a different one every month?
no, it can be an ongoing thing.
Okay.
Oh, look at my little autopilot thing. There you
What is
go.
that, by the way?
I think it does the transcript.
Oh,
I don't know. Anyway,
nice. Okay.
so it's been
And
going on for maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
and you are resistant to doing it. Is that what's
Yeah,
the
Mike. Yeah, no.
okay.
Remember, I'm the vice president.
That's right. Okay. All right. Well, let's go into the role play.
Okay.
Um, hey Suzy. Thanks for taking the time to meet with me today.
Sure.
I know I mentioned to you that I wanted to talk a little bit about the learning community experience that we've kind of, I guess, launched about the last year or two.
Yeah.
Um, and just kind of get your thoughts on how it's going. And yeah, any feedback.
Well, my thought and how it's going is going to be a very small, short conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, there are a number of inherent problems with it that I see. One, athletes in action staff, we already have a ton to do.
Mm,
And so adding on another thing to do just feels like a lot. And I know if you break it down, it's like, well, it's just 1 hour a week, but it's never just 1 hour a week. You have to, like, if I have to go somewhere, which is kind of the thing, then it ends up being like 2 hours. It's very disruptive.
mm,
So, and we have been intentionally stepping into other people's worlds for the past 20 years in terms of diversity.
mm.
Like, we've been having conversations around, African Americans, Blacks, whatever you want to, the proper term is now. So for years. And I think being in California, we just naturally have that. So one, I don't feel like we need it. And two, I don't want to add in the hours. And three, it's a pain in the butt to try to find it.
Hmm. Hey, thank you for just your honest feedback. That's super helpful. Um, Let me ask you, is there anything that you feel like has been beneficial or going well with it?
Well, I haven't done one. And,
Okay.
and so it's really hard to say. So yeah, I just haven't done one. Yeah, I just don't, I literally do not want to do it. And I just don't
Yeah.
have the time or the energy to do it. So, and it doesn't seem like it's really that big of a deal or that important, or I don't know.
Mm,
It seems like if we do it, that's good. If we don't, that's okay too.
I see what you're saying. So you mean from leadership? It doesn't seem
Yeah.
like it's that big of a deal. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I know they want us to do it, and I understand that, but I don't know that I see it as an essential thing. I mean, I know it's on the form we have to fill out every month. And every month I fill out, no, I haven't done it.
And there's
And
no consequences per
yeah,
se,
there's no
or
consequence or anything like that. So,
um, what was, when you heard this was being launched, or even now, what's your perception on why it's being done, or the value of it, or is it as intended?
ooh, that's a good question, Karen. I like that. Give her an A, Gilbert. That was a great question. I think it's to make people to be culturally aware of other ethnicities,
Mm,
that we just don't stay in like a white type thing or whatever.
mm,
So yeah, I think it's to make people aware. But I guess the difficulty comes in where I think we're pretty darn aware, and California is so different from, other
mm,
parts of the country.
mm.
So to put this, I mean, I understand you have to put a requirement on everybody, but yeah.
Well, and maybe if I could just challenge that, even that last statement, and ask a question back. Do you think you have to put it the same on anybody? If you were, maybe a better question is if you were going to still prioritize the value of making people culturally aware within
Uh-huh.
AIA, but do it in a way that was more meaningful. What would you, how would you outline that?
Another good question.
You make me giggle.
Sorry, Gilbert, I'm on vacation now, so it's gonna. Oh, what would I do? I don't think 4 hours just seems like 4 hours. I mean, so shrink the change. Is that in this book?
Mm,
Shrink the
mm-hmm.
change,
It sure is. Yeah.
right? Like maybe you do something where you say once a month, 1 hour,
Mm,
because then that would feel like, okay, I can do that.
mm,
But if all of a sudden now it's something where I'm having to do something 1 hour a week, and again, I know people think 1 hour, but it's not the 1 hour, especially if you're having to go someplace.
sure.
And it
Yeah.
just disrupts your day. It takes you out of the flow of whatever you're doing, or it keeps you from being on campus or whatever it is. So I think if it was shrunk,
Mm,
because I'd be curious how many people are actually doing it. And
mm,
it's probably somewhat difficult to find. And I understand they can't do a set thing for everybody. Like, here, you do this. Well, I don't know, maybe they do, but yeah.
and from your understanding, what are the parameters to make it qualify as an experience?
Well, that you need to come in for a learner in a learner role. So you
Mm-hmm.
can't go in and teach English as a second language and come in,
Mm,
because again, then you're coming in as the I'm helping you position. And so to find a place that's open to you coming in and coming in to observe just feels a little bit more difficult. But I think it's that 4 hour thing that just is
okay.
like, I'm not even gonna bother with it.
Okay. The time is the most thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I
You're
like the way you said it
motivating
too.
the elephant.
Yeah.
Elephant is not moving from the den.
Well, and it
Den.
sounds like, in general, if the purpose of it is to be culturally aware, and it sounded like to me you find that you find being culturally aware very valuable because you're actually pursuing it in your own
Yeah.
life, in your way. So I even wondered if not only the time but the construct of how they've wired this whole thing, meaning, would it be more, and I don't want to give you multiple choices here, but just as an example, if it was like, what are you already doing?
Oh,
That could
yeah,
kind of count as like, I call it like continuing ed almost, but what
sure.
are you already doing that would count as that? Or if there's other medians, even like
Yeah.
training sessions or books, is that any of that feel like it would work better
Yeah.
or?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense because, right, then you're discounting. Because if you don't, then you're discounting everybody that's already working on it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that
any,
makes
any,
sense.
yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's a big, it's a big ship to turn.
Mhm.
Me being able to go back and give feedback and say this, but I think that's really helpful to kind of arm me with some feedback for them.
Yeah.
Um, and anything else that you feel like, you talked about shrinking the changes or anything else, because I do think, again, you clearly understand that it's important in our lives, and
Mhm.
specifically as AIA staff, that this is an important thing that we have. But if you're not doing it, and the data says that a lot of people are feeling the same way, then it's not, we need to make that more meaningful. Do you
Yeah.
feel like I mean, do you feel like you're bought into the vision of needing to do it as a organization? Or do you think it's something more on a personal level or team level?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is important. I think we need to because we work with such a diverse people.
Mm,
We have to be sensitive to when something happens, like, George Floyd gets killed.
mm,
We have to realize that you can't just go to church on Sunday and not address that and just
great
be like,
analogy.
oh,
Yeah.
we're on the second series of our sermon,
Mm,
second lesson of the sermon series. So, I mean, you have to address it. So I think it's really important, especially for people who maybe grew up in Iowa or sorry, you're not from Iowa, are you? No, okay.
no, I love
Okay.
that.
Where you're not aware. So, but I think even, yeah, the thought of showing that you kind of get credit for what you're already doing.
Mm,
Whereas it's like,
yeah.
we're already doing that. Like when now we need to add 4 hours on to our already busy schedule.
Mm.
It
What about
seems,
what about your team members? Let's say you were in charge of this initiative, um, and you had team members who weren't already doing it. What would you recommend, besides obviously shrinking the time commitment and maybe even allowing, but I mean, that discount, they're not doing it. Let's just say they're not
Mhm.
already doing something in life. And you're wanting to create ultimately a sense of accountability towards this growth and learning. What other things would you recommend?
Another really good question. I should have gone first because now I'm gonna look really crappy.
Stop it.
Oh gosh. I would recommend reading books. I think when
Mm,
you read a book, you can get a lot of really good knowledge. So
mm,
yeah, yeah, I think that's good.
um,
Well, yeah, well, you did a great job. I think we could probably,
yep,
yeah,
that's
you
good.
had some great questions. You could tell no, seriously, you
Thank
can tell
you.
you've been doing this, and it's like those are really good. What
Well,
would if you had the team? What would trying to
yeah, and
remember?
I think if I were closing you out, I would think I would, obviously be grateful for, your feedback and just your trust with the information. But I think the other thing that I might would then do is say, hey, if we could revamp this program, would you be willing to be a part of it?
Oh yeah.
I think that's the final thing I would ask you. Would you be willing to give me an hour of your time, you know, in the next month to actually help us revamp this to make it more
Mhm.
digestible for people and more
Mhm.
interesting and meaningful?
Or
And
yeah.
because then I think it get you your buy-in too. So I think that's what I would do. So
Yeah, Karen, you did a great job. Yeah.
you're so good.
Great.
Thanks,
No,
Susie.
seriously. Yeah, you
Thank
did a
you.
great job. Really good questions and
That was a great example. So
okay, good.
yeah,
Yeah.
super
I mean,
helpful.
I could feel myself softening, like, okay, well, yeah, if they do this, because no, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, like
Well, and that's what you get, right? In real organizational settings, you get that resistance because
Yeah, sure.
mostly because of things you just said, I mean,
Yeah,
so yeah.
yeah. Good job.
Well, thanks.
100%, Gilbert.
Yeah, what she said. Okay. So I told you I was struggling to really come up with a scenario. Um, but I think it's going to be a little bit similar to you in that I am a senior leader in the organization and have been tenured there for quite some time. And with a lot, and when I started with the organization, there were a handful of people. And I'm actually not even talking about me. I'm actually playing the role of somebody else in our organization, but
Okay.
similar stories. But and have and I with all the change that's coming, there's a lot more structure and process. For example, if I want to make a change with IT things, I have to like email this email and then they create a ticket and it's
Oh,
and I while I understand it's a scalable process, I'm really, I mean, I'm annoyed by it because it's bureaucratic and doesn't allow me to get the things needed to operationalize actual workflows. And so
mm,
I tend to be the kind of person who goes around them or keeps
mhm,
trying to go around those processes because I
mhm,
feel maybe I'm entitled. I feel entitled to it, or I'm just, habit. And the same is true of like purchase orders, anything that becomes more framed and structured. I'm resistant to because I'm used to moving fast. I want to be able to use my maybe
sure.
position and tenure to get things done, and I can't anymore, and that's frustrating for me. So that's kind of the scenario.
Okay. And what type of company is it again?
It's a genetics biotech company, so science, life sciences.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay. Okay. So you're like a senior leader. Okay.
yes,
So who am I coming in as? Your
um, I think if you're the leader, you're probably the CEO.
CEO.
Like
Okay.
you're my boss,
Yeah.
and you've gotten a lot of complaints from people in the organization who know that to make this a scalable, make these things scalable in operations, these processes are good, and you have the CEO's buy-in, but you have resistance from me
Right, right.
because I can't be bothered. So, and you're coming to me, I think, as my boss
Okay.
without rebuking me, probably trying to get me to,
Sure.
yeah,
And how long has this been? Have they put in these thing? How long is it, like
the
a year?
processes and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Probably there's different ones, but probably I would say over the last 3 to 5 years, there's been a lot more structure because to match the growth, because we've made 3 acquisitions and
Oh, okay.
and launched 3 additional products that are even on top of those acquisitions. So I think probably all of that has
Okay.
created a need. Yeah.
All right. Well, I will try to do a decent job.
You do a vacation job. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. All right. All right. Well, hey, Karen, it's good to see you. Thanks for taking the time to come in today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Suzy.
Yeah, so I just want to start by saying I really value you. You've been with this company a long time. And
Thank
like
you.
you've seen some big changes.
Yeah, we both
Yeah.
have, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah, and weathered a lot of things. And change is never easy, especially acquiring, three new companies. And, you can't acquire three new companies and not have any change that happens with it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I just really appreciate your loyalty to this company and glad you're a tenure here because I know there's a lot that the people, I don't want to say below you, but other people can learn from you.
No, I definitely try. I want to do my best.
Yeah, yeah, we do a great job. Well, one of the things I know we've had, again, with that change, we've had a lot of procedural change. So as the company grows, we've had to have a lot of different processes put in place
Mm,
that really weren't in place when you started.
yeah, tell me about
Yeah.
it.
And I know things kind of slow down or whatever. I'm just wondering, because I've received from some feedback from people or in the organization, maybe I shouldn't say that. In terms of notice that you kind of tend to, so I don't even know where to go if that's bad to say, tend to go around the thing because yeah. I'm trying to decide. I feel like I'm putting words in your mouth, so I'm trying to decide.
Well, I like where you were going before that. So maybe before you go to the feedback thing, maybe just I'm just thinking in the moment, like more because I was feeling, oh yeah, she's really got me feeling like I'm doing great, and maybe just to even ask what I think about the procedures and
Yeah.
things.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. So as you know, we've made a lot of procedural changes. And I wanted to know, how are you feeling with it?
I mean, to be honest, um I can get frustrated with them. They make things like it feels like things are really slowed down by them. Um and it feels specifically like that with the ones who are real sticklers for it. Like I tried to email IT the other day in the midst of kind of like a high need, and
Mm-hmm.
I know it's high need. I mean, I've been here forever. I know what's high need and what's not. So why can't I just message them via Teams and ask them to make this change? But they kind of pushed me back to put in a ticket, and
Mm.
it feels a little bit bureaucratic and kind of slows down operations. But I mean, I guess it's necessary. Just, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine how it feels. You're wanting to get things done and you're a high, like you achieve and perform so well. And you're wanting
Mm,
to get things done and it feels like you're kind of stuck
mm,
or slowed down, maybe not stuck.
yeah, for sure.
So tell me a little bit about more the last statement you said, but it's necessary.
Mm. Well, I mean, I recognize that, we're no longer the 10 or 30 people who used to sit in the conference room and like make changes on the fly, right? And I understand that can't happen when we're now 200, 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I wish that there was still room for exceptions to the rules when necessary, and that people could trust that, like, I know when to make those.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So what do you think are the difficulties associated with what you just said?
Well, I think I guess I mean, I guess if like Rick in IT, gets my exception to the rule, I mean, potentially he could be getting five others, right, from Mike
Yeah.
or Nate or other senior leaders, um, and he doesn't have context for those, and so his go-to is first come first serve, um, instead of being able to understand those, and so, I mean, I could see how that could be troublesome for him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that, and um, maybe part of it would be to be able to continue to grow people who are on the receipt, like the managing processes like that, to grow their understanding of the business and to help them be able to discern as a lot. Like, yeah, I could see that Jeannie's change is bigger than Mike's change or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, I feel like there does need to be some gray area. Not everything just won't fit in the process just so.
Yeah.
And so I get kind of frustrated when people are so black and white about it, because I mean, I'll follow the process. I think there needs to be some wiggle room for exception,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah, because I can understand how you feel maybe when you put in a request, since you are a senior leader, your request for IT might have more weight to it than somebody who's maybe down the organizational chart a little bit more. And so maybe does it feel kind of a little unfair that it's just a level playing field that everybody's request is treated the same?
I mean, yeah, but not even just because I'm like authoritative or anything, but more because I'm like, I I know when something's like
Sure.
critical or not, and I'm not going to ask for it unless it is, right?
Yeah. So if you were like redoing this process, what do you think you could put in, or what would you want to change about the process?
I guess I just would want a pathway maybe for exceptions, or some way to denote like its criticality and that be taken seriously, not just like first come first serve. Like if IT's sitting there reading, through tickets in order of which they were received, and not
Mhm.
like viewing them in totality and going, oh, this one's high, importance, and we should jump that one in the queue. There should be some sort of emergency queue or something.
Okay. Okay.
Because I think that would make I mean, 9 times out of 10, the process is just fine. I don't need somebody to rush over because my power cord's broken. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah. Yeah.
if Best can't get access to do results to get customer orders out, that's problematic, and I need her to get access. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
So if there was some type of part of the process that addressed that 1 out of 10, then would that feel like you'd be kind of more like, oh yeah, I can do that? Because I just heard you say like 9 out of 10 times great following the process. It's
yeah,
just that I get frustrated with that one time. So if there was something in process for that, how would that feel to you?
yeah. I think that would work. I think
Hmm.
having an emergency or a method by which to elevate or escalate certain ones. I mean, recognizing that you need senior leaders to be accountable, not to abuse that. I think
Yeah.
that most of us would only do that as needed.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Thanks. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I think that was great, Susie. Yeah. I think unless you want to keep going anything, but
No, 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 that's fine.
yeah, I think I loved how you started, like you just kind of stroked the ego of the person, like, and not in a false way. I mean, you really truly, recognize that, the tenure and so you kind of already kind of dealt with that part. But you also invited me into the process of how to make it work, kind of like,
Mhm.
like we did with, on yours too. It's like when you
Mhm.
when you get somebody to kind of, and you use my words really well, like you reflected like the 9 out of 10, and hey, I heard you say this, and then you attune to my like frustration and whatever. So I think you did a great job. I think where you caught yourself was a great catch, by the way, too. You're like, I don't think I should be doing that. Because I think
Yeah,
if you had gone there, I think as the person, I would have been like, who's talking about me?
exactly. Right after I said that, I'm like, whoop, zip it back in
Yeah, you
because
did great. That was such a great awareness. So
it's
yeah, but if I were really the person, I would be thinking, oh, good. Like they know the frustrating process too. My boss does, and he wants to give me the freedom to help create a pathway for these things, and I've articulated whether I know it or not. I promise I won't abuse it, which is a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
accountability, right? That you kind of
yeah.
got out of me. So that was good.
Thank
Great
you.
job,
Thank you. Well,
Gilbert. Give her an A.
well, I can see how like how you approach something, because if you approach like, no, you have to do this and you got to do this, where it's like, okay, well, like finding out maybe the elephant, right? Finding out the motivation or the why the elephant's not motivated, what's
Yeah.
keeping you stuck. And so being able to be like, okay, yeah, but like you, I loved how you said it's really 9 out of 10 times it's great. It's just
Mm,
fun because you have to have something like, like the ambulance coming to the hospital. If they had to wait in
yes.
line, then it was that type of thing. No, you got to create some path. So,
Yeah. I think that, I mean, what I take away from this is like, it's the same things we've been learning, which is like to go in, like not to reprimand and negative emotions, but to go in and make connection,
yeah,
to attune to the difficult parts. But then even like, and I think, the thing that I was trying to ask you is what's going well, like looking for those bright spots or what's working.
yes, yeah,
Um, and then kind of going, but and then inviting them into, well, how do we change this? What's your suggestions, and getting their ownership and commitment? So I like it.
Yeah, and that would have been a good thing to ask. Like, what do you feel is going well with the processes that we've put in place?
Yeah, because I could have definitely said, you're right. I could have said, like, there's a lot that's gotten better about it. Like, it used to be that IT was the black hole where everything went to die. And
Yeah.
now, like, because they have a ticketing system, there's accountability for turnaround time of 24 hours. There's all these
Mhm.
things. So I
Mhm.
definitely could have, and that would have been helpful. I mean, not that
Yeah.
you would have gotten there, but I mean, that would have been helpful too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, good job.
Hey, thanks. Let me stop the recording.